This is not as straightforward as it seems. These are two teams that have never met each other. One of them is going to the World Cup. The fifth-placed South American team against the Oceanian first-place finishers and current Oceania champions. This is New Zealand versus Peru across two legs. These are two countries, two teams that have never played against each other before at the senior level. Might have never played against each other ever, I'm not sure. And this is sort of random, honestly. You wouldn't think these two teams would meet each other prior to the World Cup qualifying draw that was held a couple years ago. So we have two very different, contrasting styles of play here. Two very different teams. So let me just jump right in with my predictions. New Zealand are looking to get back to the World Cup. They were there in 2010. They were previously in 1982. So they've been to two World Cups, the most recent one, like I said. Then you have Peru, who have not been to a World Cup since 1982. A team that has not been to the World Cup in 30-plus years. I'm going to say this. If there's any team that New Zealand had somewhat of a shot against that could have conceivably made it, it was always going to be either Peru or Paraguay. And I'm going to give you a surprise, what would have been prediction here. Paraguay probably most likely would have been New Zealand's best option. But they flopped it against Venezuela at home. They really, really had another chance delivered to them on a silver platter, and they foiled it. You're going to think I sound crazy. If this was New Zealand versus Paraguay, I would predict an upset. I would pick New Zealand to go to the World Cup because there is a whole familiarity between them. They played each other in the groups in the 2010 World Cup. That ended in a draw. They played a couple of times, a few times after that as well. They have a little bit of history with each other. And I feel like that certainly would have been a destiny sort of situation, as odd as that sounds. Two countries with zero link with each other. I would have picked New Zealand. Here's the thing. Peru cannot take this for granted. Number one, because it's football and anything can happen in this sport. Number two, Peru just came through a really rigorous qualifying region, the most difficult qualifying region in the world, in South America. They have managed to survive it for the first time in many years. And they are playing against a team that they are vastly superior to. Peru needs to be humble. They've never been in this situation before, because back when they used to qualify for World Cups, they didn't have playoffs like this. So the last thing Peru needs to do is to be considering themselves already in Russia. Because football likes to work in some tragic ironies, in my opinion. I mentioned it in a previous video. You play in a region with some of the toughest teams in the world, the toughest region of qualifying in the world, like I just said, and then you survive it, and then you get eliminated against a team like New Zealand. Just think about that for a second. How cruel would that be? Peru needs to show New Zealand some respect. They need to know they are the favorites, but they need to play them just like they would any other side in South America. And they need to, like I said, they need to approach this without already thinking they're through. New Zealand. I give New Zealand about a 20 to 25% chance of coming through this. Yeah, that may sound really high, but I give New Zealand about a 20% chance of coming through, and that's not that low. That's that's like a 1 in 5 chance. And the reason, like I said, is because only Paraguay would have been the best possible option for them. Had they gotten Argentina, had they gotten Brazil, had they gotten Uruguay, had they gotten Colombia, had they gotten Chile, forget it. I mean, essentially. I'm not going to talk tactics because I think these are two teams that are not on the same. They're not on the same level as each other. But I'm worried about Peru, and here's why. This is a high stakes, high pressure situation for Peru. They're not used to being in this situation, and they have so much to lose. Whereas New Zealand, they lose this, they're not going to be devastated. They'll be upset they don't go to the World Cup, of course, 100%. Don't get me wrong. But they can say, oh, well, we lost to a South American team. And that'll be excusable. If Peru, after having survived Brazil, Argentina, Uruguay, Colombia, Chile, if they get eliminated against New Zealand and destroy the opportunity to go to the World Cup for the first time in over 30 years, when they might not get this opportunity again next time around because nothing is guaranteed, that'll just devastate them. It'll just be the worst thing in the world. Peru has way more to lose from this game, from this meeting, than New Zealand does. And that's pretty liberating for New Zealand. And I could easily see this being something like an Australia versus Uruguay type situation back in 2005. For those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, go look it up. So my prediction, the first leg in Wellington, New Zealand. My prediction for the first leg, I'm going to go with a 2-1 victory for Peru. And then in the second leg, I'm going to go with a 3-1 to Peru. And Peru will qualify for the World Cup. 5-2 on aggregate. But they need to not underestimate their opponent here. Always respect your opponent. Take nothing for granted. Do not assume anything. Thank you for watching. Leave a comment below, like, subscribe. I'll see you in my next video, God willing, tomorrow. Have a good night. Much love and peace out.